You're listening to another episode of Open Source CXO, the podcast designed to share insights on how to excel in your business using technology, regardless of the industry. Host Robert Kehoe is a self-taught software developer who has grown to the role of CEO. Renowned for his collaborations with organizations such as Stanford University, Nelnet, and Louis Vuitton, he continually seeks new challenges to conquer in the world of tech. Accompanying him is Don Blackburn, a veteran COO with over 25 years of experience in cultivating diverse relationships and driving innovation in various technical projects. Each week, they'll be sitting down with some of the nation's foremost technology leaders to develop an open source playbook, drawing from their firsthand experiences in the field. Let's talk some tech.
All right, today on Open Source CXO, we're joined by Rob McElroy and Andie Ewing, both from Unbound. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
being
us.
here.
So Unbound, this is a little bit unique territory for us at Open Source in that we haven't done any guests from a nonprofit, and might as well start with you guys because it's a very large international nonprofit. So why don't we start by telling the folks about Unbound?
We are an international nonprofit. We work in 17 different countries. We serve around 280,000 families. How we work with our families is we have what we call our 5 pillars. And I brought a cheat sheet to share, and I'll leave this behind for you guys as well. So our program, basically, our first pillar is to eliminate poverty. So in the 17 countries we're in, it's in Africa, Asia, India, and Latin America. And these are countries that, they have families in extreme poverty. First thing is that we do a sponsorship program. And so you can sponsor a child or an elderly, and I'll get into that a little bit later. And it's $40 a month. That money goes directly to those families. So we have programs in those communities, and then we help them set up checking accounts, which is a very big deal, because in these countries, you have to have wealth to be able to even obtain a checking account. So that's number one, and that money goes directly through. We call it direct cash transfer. That's one of the very unique things about Unbound, is that the money goes directly to the families that we serve, and then they really get to decide what they do with it. Now, there is some goal setting. We use a program called Poverty Stoplight, and they set up goals, and then they meet with within their communities and work towards their goals. So if they go blow all that money, they still have to answer well, why didn't you get that bathroom that you were trying to build? But that's the first pillar. Second pillar is we empower women. So one of the kind of superpowers in the communities are the mothers, because the mothers know what the families need, and they are very persistent to make that happen. And so the program is really centralized around helping women feel empowered to be able to make decisions for their family and for their community. And I'll talk a little bit more about the mothers groups. Well, I'll talk about it here. So the way the communities work is they form these, what we call mothers groups. So it's a group of moms, and these groups are not just social circles, or I can't think of the word. Okay, anyway, these groups, they run like organizations. They have chairwomen for medical needs, chair for education. And then they have organizational charts, and there's levels of accountability through the groups. And that's how they help run everything that they need to do to improve their community. It's pretty dang amazing because they're not educated.
Well, I was going to say, you're not dealing with college-educated folks here. You're talking about
but they
people that have very low level of education, I would guess.
Exactly, but they are extremely persistent and innovative, and they know how to make things happen. And so, and they'll present to you when you go to the communities. They'll present to you these org charts of how they're running their communities. It's just overly amazing. So, but those mothers groups also hold each other accountable. So I talked about the Poverty Stoplight. When you come into Unbound, you fill out a survey, and it kind of gives you a readout of what your situation looks like, and then you set goals from that. And then they hold each other accountable to hitting their goals. So that's why the self-directed funds really work, because it's not like someone from Unbound is watching over and saying, are you spending the money or are you doing these things? The community members are holding each other. And it's not like a stick type of accountability. It's an accountability like, we're in this together. Let's make changes to our community. Advanced education, that's really the foundation of how Unbound started. It started around education. There's just a big correlation between your level of education and being able to overcome the chains of poverty. And so the original focus was, sponsor a child, keep a child in school. And that still is the requirement. If you're a sponsored family, then the child needs to stay in school. And that's a huge thing in the countries that we serve, because once they get to a certain age and they can start working, it's a really big sacrifice for these families to keep them in school. Right. And so, that $40 a month may not sound like a lot to you and I, but that helps, that buffer, so that those children can stay in school. The second thing that we have is there was a recognition that, okay, so we get them through, like what we would consider primary school or high school, but there was still a gap of, okay, well, the world is really competitive right now. For instance, in the Philippines, to get a contact center job in any of the BPOs, you have to have a college education. Right. So even if they get through their primary school, that doesn't guarantee that they're going to be able to further their economic status. So we have what we call our scholarship program. And what's really cool about the scholarship program is not only is it for, youth, it's also the parents in our program. So let's say a mother comes into the program, she does Poverty Stoplight, and one of the goals that comes out of it is she wants to become a social worker. Mm-hmm. She can apply for the scholarship program, she can go to college, and it can have a complete life-changing effect on her life. Education.
I'm guessing college education not as readily available there in most countries.
That is exactly it. It's like, I don't even know if community colleges, every country has its own nuances, but yeah, it's definitely a privilege to get to go to college. Building community, I kind of spoke about it with the mothers groups, but one of the really cool things that came out of our mothers groups was, they all have their individual goals and they're all working towards their individual goals, but as a community, the mothers started realizing, hey, your child is coming home from school dirty because of the rains and the dirt paths home and to school. So is my child. Let's do something about it. And that evolved into our program called Agents of Change. And what that is a community-based program where these mothers, again, uneducated mothers, don't have work experience like in a corporation, but they have figured out how to put business cases together. And they have put these business cases together. They propose them to Unbound. When they get approved, they get put out to our community, to our supporters communities, and people can take an Agents of Change for $500. Money goes back to them, and these families do it. And these are these are probably some of the most impressive things I've seen. I'll tell one story. I have so many that I've seen in my time, but I'll tell this one story because it still blows my mind. In Medellin, Colombia, we have a community called New Jerusalem, and it's way up in the mountains. The government doesn't even recognize this community in their census. So it's about 1 million people up on this mountain that the government doesn't even act like exist. So if the government doesn't recognize them, there's not public resources. So water, electricity, those things. Well, the mothers in this mothers group just finally got fed up, and they were like, we need water up the mountain. Like, this is not sustainable. So they pulled their money together, saved up enough to get tubing to build water pipes, figured out how to go down the mountain to the river, build a pump, and they hand dug this piping up into their community and into their houses and are pumping water from the river up the mountain. Mothers, not engineers,
Wow.
not professionals,
Yeah.
just mothers determined to make it happen.
Wow.
That is impressive. I wouldn't even know where to start with that.
It blew my mind. And so that was my first visit there. They had just installed the pump and they had started the construction. My second visit, about 6 months later, the mothers were like saying, well, now we have to fix our houses, which are not houses like what you and I live in, but they're living space, because when they put the pipes in, it, opened up the walls or whatever. And so they were like working on, okay, now we have to fix the houses back up. Yeah. Mothers figuring this out. That's the power of the community.
Well, you need drains. Once you have water, you got to drain the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just, it just blew my mind. Yeah. So I just love to share that story. And then our last pillar is we promote well-being of all ages. So I talked about, it started around supporting, keeping children in school, but then there was also a need for our elderly. They're, especially in the countries where we work, there's just not a lot of programs out there to support elderly. There's actually, other child sponsorship programs out there. There's other programs for children kind of universally, but the elderly is a community that's really forgotten about. And so here at Unbound, we are the only sponsorship program that has sponsor an elderly. And I have to tell you, it is like the children are amazing. Are getting to see the children, it is just amazing. But our elderly, this is something really, really special. If you're ever feeling down, just spending a day with them will just brighten you up. They are very fun, have tons of energy. They're going to make you dance with them. But, one story I was telling Rob on the way over here, my very first visit to an elderly program, I had a elderly lady that just looks like a sweet grandma. And I was asking her, like, what does Unbound mean to you? And she was telling me that, she didn't have any family left. And so she's left in, really bad economic situation, all by herself, doing life by herself. And it was very depressing. Mm-hmm. And then she got into the Unbound community and she has other people to do life with. And, it's just like, I think everybody can relate to that. I think everybody can kind of relate to, like, what would it be like if you didn't have your family and you didn't have anybody, and versus when you have a community around you. So that's who we are at Unbound. We are here in Kansas City. A lot of people don't know we're here.
How big is the organization?
So we're a $140 million organization. 90% of everything we bring in goes back to the families that we
huge.
serve. I mean, it is huge. And when you think about...
Well, it's
for
more,
nonprofit.
Isn't that more than the requirement? That's by far more.
We're always, A+ rated by all the agencies.
That's amazing. I love hearing that.
Yeah, we have high ratings. We always have, and we do. Our cost to acquisition for a sponsorship is very low if you compare us to others in our industry. Mm-hmm. And so, we have a lot of really great things to stand on. If you go in our building, it's not super fancy, but it shouldn't be, for where we're at and what we're doing in our space. So, we're very proud of how we squeeze dollars out of.
So how many employees? Because you got to have people on the ground in all these countries, I'm guessing, to do all these programs.
Yeah, so we have about 140 headquarter employees, and then we have about 1,700 affiliate employees that work in the communities, the social workers,
And some of those, I'm guessing, are volunteers, or are they all paid staff?
Those are all paid staff. Now, we do have also a volunteer network that helps us with some of the stuffing of letters and things like that.
Sure.
But no, here's the crazy thing, because I still am sort of processing all this. I've been at Unbound for 3 years. I came from the corporate sector where very large Fortune 500 type organizations. And I thought coming into a nonprofit, oh, it's going to be like kumbaya and everybody's just, here to do great things. And we are. But kind of, I guess, our segue into talking about our digital transformation is we also have to run a business in a very scrappy manner. We have to be smart. Mm-hmm. We have to be efficient.
Well, if you run on that little of the entire revenue, I would imagine so.
Yeah. And we still have to take care of our employees, because even though there are, our team members are working for a nonprofit and they're here because they love the mission, it's still their job. Right. And so we have to balance all of that and make sure we have this really engaging and positive culture that people love to work for. Right. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it's still work. It's still a TS team doing TS very, very important work. Mm-hmm. It's still contact center team taking call center employees or call center calls. Right. So and so forth. Right. It's just the difference is, you can go work at any organization. I mean, I could go work in doing what I do in any organization, and I compare this all the time. Like when I was in the cell phone industry, I would try to rally everyone around how important it was to keep people's phones working and I would come up with some anecdotal story. Sure. I don't have to search for that here, because what we're doing is...
You don't have to sell it, right?
No.
You don't really
Everybody knows what the mission is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Clear. Yeah.
So
I am very curious, though, how you said digital transformation, how you guys... being this organization that's been around for seemingly a little while.
30 years?
What does that mean?
1981.
What does the digital transformation even mean? Because I imagine it's such a generic term, to be honest. So you're not doing stuff on paper. I can't imagine that was what you mean by that. So I'm very curious, what to you guys, what does digital transformation mean?
I might give a little background, just something so we take photos in every year. We get a photo of, let's say you're a sponsor, mm-hmm. And you could get a video every year. You get a video of your friend that you could see online. You could log in and see that. You could get a letter. You can write a letter. You can see that. You can do all that stuff online, and you can also get a photo of your friend also. Well, when I started almost 23 years ago, people were our international offices, which we call projects too. We kind of use that term interchangeably, but we were requiring them to take a photo. They would take a photo on film, and they would send us a copy and the negative. I think they would actually send us 2 copies, and they would actually ship it overseas. Oh, my. That was 23 years ago, right? Yeah. When I started.
I see how that should be digitally transformed.
Yeah, and so just to give a little background, and so what we would do is we would take that, we'd get that photo here, and then at Unbound we'd get it and we would catalog it in a card catalog. It was crazy.
Physical catalog?
No, it wasn't a digital catalog at that moment. It was just open up some drawers. Yeah, physical catalog, right? And then fast forward that all the way to what we have now is we have a CRM that we've written for our international offices, our projects, and they can upload photos, and they upload them. The families can upload them with the mobile app, with the mobile phone.
So out of curiosity, these countries that you serve, they have proper internet, and is that
not necessarily. What's that called? Like a cafe or something like that?
Cyber cafe.
Yeah, cyber cafe, something like that. So
they make it work.
They make it work. So they get a photo to us either through their cell phone, or they go into the project office and get a photo taken. That digitally gets uploaded to us. Okay, and one thing this is really cool, how we used artificial intelligence is we've taken, so we have a process, right? We take a look at a photo. We make sure that the photo has no identifying characteristics in it that might say, you're on Kenneth Street, or you're in Overland Park, right? Something like that. We also want to take that photo and crop it a certain way, right? And we also want to make sure that the photo we have of you today is the same as the photo we got last year. You're the same person. Just because accidentally, let's say the photo gets cataloged wrong to the wrong person, right? We use IDs for everything, right? So we do that, and what we've done with artificial intelligence. So right now, it would like last year at this time, it would take from the time they took a photo of you and uploaded it to our systems before it would get to Don so he could look at it online. It's 90 days. because we review it, we crop it, we make sure it's decent, there's nothing in there that's bad. Using artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it was a manual process before, right? Now it's
Manual
AI.
process. Now we've used AI to actually crop the photo. We've used AI to compare your photo last year and this year to see if they're the same person. And then we also use AI to see if there's anything in it identifying characteristics. Now, when we take a photo of you, Rob, and we upload it to our systems, Don can see that in 3 days. So last year it took 90, and we're down to 3. That's what they added.
It sounds to me though like this is less of a digital transformation. It's more like a journey. Like you just continue evolving as you go, because you guys started off one way, you kind of continue through it, and it's never ending. Right?
Correct. It is never ending. I mean, I know like Andie's done a lot to push us. She does a good job of digital transformation, process improvement, and we've done a lot with SMS.
Yeah. Yeah, we introduced SMS last year for the first time, using it in we haven't fully got it in every interaction, but we have it to push communications around their payments being late, and that's been really effective.
So that's for the donors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you're reaching them now. Just email your.
I was going to
reach them
ask.
via
I
text.
didn't realize that. I was going to say you keep track of these people's bills. Like that's a whole step. I didn't realize. It's
I
for
mean,
the donors.
it's
that
very
makes
much,
sense.
it's the full business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a business operation.
Yeah.
So they were
A lot of tech. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing how much it is going through SMS now
Yeah.
versus email, just
Yeah.
because everybody's got their phone on them
No,
24/7.
we weren't even email. We were print.
Oh, so you were mailing, snail mail.
Which there is some effectiveness to that, especially in a nonprofit, getting in front of them. So there are certain things we still want in front of our donors in paper. But yeah, I mean, we just launched using SMS so people can sign up for sponsorship, what we call our church appeals. So we have preachers that go preach at churches, and people will sign up and they can say pay later. They may not have their information on them. And before, we were reaching out to them by phone call. Well, you know how that is. People don't answer their phone.
Not when they don't know the number anymore.
Right.
Correct. Exactly.
And so we just launched an SMS out to those new sponsors that haven't fully paid. And we're seeing already like a 45% conversion of them,
that's awesome.
making their payment within 6 days. So those are the types of things that we're just looking for digital solutions to. I mean, I know it took me a while to understand. We would have like regular business operations, but yeah, it's the exact same thing. So it's very similar as we're talking about the customer journey part of the digital transformation. It is very similar to the work that I did when I was in the cellular space.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I'll add too that one of the things that's cool about what the founders did with our company is they were all pretty tech savvy. Even the 80s and 90s. One of our founders was graduated with great honors at Rockhurst. They say he's one of the smartest people to come out of there, and he was a really neat guy. I never got to meet him, unfortunately. He'd already passed away, but he was very tech savvy, and we were using a DOS-based system when I got there. And one of the reasons I was hired was to write our own CRM in .NET, and we've had our own CRM now.
That's the wrong framework. That's
well, yeah, I know, gotcha.
I'm kidding.
No, it's cool. They're all wrong frameworks anymore, right? I mean, you're always going to choose the wrong one. But so what's really cool, what we can do with Andie and I collaborate, and obviously we have teams behind us. We don't push all the buttons ourselves, but we take all the credit.
No.
But we don't either. But we have built our own CRM.
Right.
So we've made changes to that, just like you talked earlier, Rob, about digital transformation. We've made changes to that CRM every 2 weeks, or every 3. Whenever the business needs something, we can make a change.
Absolutely.
And it's our own custom software. And so back when they made that decision, they were on a DOS-based system called Smartware, and they thought what they did was they actually sat down and they identified how do we function as a business. And they had a company come in and help them, interview everybody at the company. Here's how we do business. And then they actually looked at, out of the box solutions. Yeah. And back in that time, there would have been a Siebel. It's similar to some of the other things.
Right.
And I don't know if it's around anymore. I think Oracle bought it. And they had some, there's some out of box stuff even in 2001, 2002. And they said, you know what? The best for Unbound is we're so unique. Our business is to write our own software.
That's one of the things I like about nonprofits. Is they're always super unique in how they handle data, how they have to communicate with people, how they have to do things. It's almost always custom. That works out for us as a business too.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm just saying, it's so the use cases are unique, and honestly, a lot of companies go for like Salesforce. You can customize that, right? But so that was one of my questions is why did you decide to just build your own? Because honestly, the bloat and development, like year to year, edge case to edge case, eventually there's gonna be some tech debt you have to pay back, and there's all sorts of things. I'm just very curious why you went down that monster of a task.
It is. You're right. It is a monstrous of a task. When the business identified how they wanted the software to function, then they actually put out a RFP, said who can do this. And the company here in town actually helped, and they did a great job. And I was there. I helped learn from them, and so what the whole thing was we saw it as competitive advantage. Every year we have I don't think it's every year. I don't know how often do we do the meeting with the other nonprofits in our
It's once a year.
Once a year. What's that called? It's
Interagency.
We have an interagency meeting, and there's actually a nonprofit in town that's similar in our space, and
And you guys meet?
yeah, we meet.
Oh.
We talk about tech, and they
With
have
this other nonprofit? You
yeah
guys
a lot of
meet?
them.
All of us.
All, yeah,
okay.
and actually
That's
this year
awesome.
they're meeting in Kansas City, Kansas, at our organization, but they're all very envious that we have our own CRM,
Yeah.
and I am very fortunate to be part of that, and it does give you a competitive advantage.
I just want to say our competitive advantage is Rob.
No.
No, I mean, there's definitely pain points with having the custom CRM. When we opened up the 2 call centers, things that you don't think about in this scenario are we didn't have point-to-point connections. And so getting computers to Medellin, Colombia, or into the Philippines that were provisioned was a real pain point. We had, like, one of our very first learnings in opening up the Colombia call center was not thinking about the computers going through customs. We had a computer get stuck in customs for like 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And, and because we aren't cloud-based, so we couldn't just provision somebody over the air. So we've overcome some of that we've put in some point to,
Are you still currently not in the cloud?
Yeah, so our CRM is Windows based, WinForm based, and so we haven't converted to a cloud based because back in 2001 it was
Wasn't available.
yeah, you're right.
It
Internet.
wasn't really what it is today.
Right.
And it's still kind of expensive, so who knows about that?
But if you're international, it kind of makes sense.
Our website's in the cloud, so we use Azure. We lean into Azure for our cloud, so our website runs in the cloud. But and our applications, our CRMs that the international offices, our projects use, that's out in the cloud. Those are run in the cloud. But yeah, Andie's right. There's been some challenges with our CRM because you need a somewhat decent connection, and that's why we've established these point-to-point connections. And so that is.
So did you develop your own call center software? Because that's a beast unto itself of managing incoming calls, and I'm assuming you're talking about donors that call in. Then you have somebody on the line that's
just
going
like
to take.
any other call center. We have a phone system, and then we use our CRM.
So they're always entering all the information goes directly into your CRM and this process. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
They integrate well. The call center system. We do stuff.
Well, they
for,
always usually have an API. You guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for PCI compliance, when somebody calls in to give their credit card, we've got it set up so that the agent can't hear their credit card. They punch in the number. So we've done some integrations there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
With that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our stuff is actually, it's pretty good. I would put it up to compare it to anything I used in my previous lives.
So do you have outbound as well, or is it all inbound?
Nope.
So you have outbound.
We have outbound, inbound. We have chat. We have an email communication.
Have you gone to the AI bot yet?
We have a bot. I'm not loving it.
It's frustrating me. I'm a tech guy. I live in this world, and the AI bots are really annoying me.
There's got to be a better way.
Yeah, I agree.
It's on our.
They're getting better,
Yeah.
but they're still annoying.
It's
It's
always
on our-
escalate, right?
Yeah.
You're not giving me the answer I want, so let me talk to somebody live with a lot of the AI bots. Sometimes you can get something, but
The questions on the bot are good. It's the positioning of them. I have yet to find one
So it's the experience.
that's
On the website,
it's
yeah.
the experience.
It's also the demographic you're
Yeah.
serving too, right? And
Yeah.
Well, every time I start to use an AI bot, the first question is, I want to talk to a real person. That's all I type.
right.
I'm just like, nope, not doing this.
But they won't let you.
So 2 years before I started, they had live answer.
So you can talk to somebody live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So there was no automated answering or anything?
No.
Okay.
And it's been a little bit of a journey to find kind of what that meet in the middle with the IVR is.
So I'm guessing that when I call up to donate, it goes to a single 888 number or 800 number, and then it's directed to whatever. You have multiple call centers, right, in other parts of the country or other parts of the world?
Yeah, but it's similar to any other like BPO kind of operation. You're in by a queue, so it's going to go to whoever's available.
So I may talk to somebody in the Philippines, or I may talk to somebody in Latin America.
Or somebody here. Yeah.
By calling the same 800 number.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
there's
we're going to do some smart routing. That's on our roadmap.
So I was going to ask, because that's one of the products we're developing now is a CRM, and it's in the insurance world, and that's part of it is directing calls to the agent that's most likely to
Yeah.
be successful in that call
So
using demographics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it pulls in, it knows who's calling, where they're at,
yep.
age range, everything else,
Yep.
and then it'll direct to an agent.
Yeah.
Based
so
on that.
like we're gonna look at a couple different things. One of the ideas floating is if you are sponsoring in Latin America, then your call would be directed to the Colombia call center so that you're speaking to somebody in the region.
Makes sense,
Or
right, yeah.
same thing in
Same language.
yeah, and then they all speak English, but they could speak to like I'm actually right here in Medellin, because one of the things that especially in international nonprofit, a lot of people question like, is this real? Is this that's why the picture integrity is so important, because people are skeptical, and and I understand that, but so one of the things that we think about all the time is like, how can we continue to validate that? Well, let's hire from our sponsored families. Let's hire where we're serving people so they can speak to it. And that is just, you're going to get me choked up talking about that, because that is just something that I'm super proud that we do, because we're not just like taking care of our sponsors, but we're also, by the people taking care of our sponsors, we're also creating impact, life-changing careers for them as well. So it's just win, 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 win.
Sure.
No,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So is most of the fundraising coming from the individuals or organizations, or I know there's been a lot of cuts to international aid lately. So
Well-
has that had any impact?
Luckily, we weren't using any of that aid. We have amazing sponsors and donors. If you want to feel good about something, spend a day like listening to our sponsors and donors. They just give so generously. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we do give 90% to our families, and we have that A+ rating. But the majority of everything we do is really from individual sponsors. So those 280,000 families that we support, there's in most cases, there's a singular sponsor behind them. We are starting to expand our portfolio and look at building out more donor programs. So Agents of Change Scholarship, things like that, where people can just donate money, and looking at more of that, cultivating those relationships. But that's something really new to us. Really, since 1981, it's really been around a one-to-one sponsorship. That's what's kept us going. And
So are you saying that most of your guys' revenue comes from individual people or families as
Yeah.
opposed to like
Yeah.
businesses or corporation?
yes.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that was what's cool about one of our founders, Bob Henson. He was big on, a little bit of money from a lot of people
Yeah.
can make a big difference. And then, like
It
what you
makes
talked
the
about.
entire organization, in my mind, just more stable. Because if you have somebody who says,
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore, it doesn't quite affect you guys as
Yeah.
much. You guys can still do what you guys do.
Well,
No, that's-
I think we've covered a whole lot.
Yeah,
Is
there's,
there
there's
anything?
no official outro or anything.
No, no,
We
no.
just no dance. We don't dance.
No.
Well, that's
There is a
third
secret
phase of
handshake we'll teach you later, but no.